After her baby daughter was lost in a shipwreck 14 years ago, Mrs. Patricia Gregory started searching the world over in the hope that her little girl might still be alive. Now Mrs. Gregory is again in the South Seas, and with her on her private yacht are Captain Tex Bradford and Jerry Hall. Jerry was a young radio operator in Los Angeles who received the first mysterious message about an old sailor having seen the magic island and a little white girl on it. The yacht is lying now completely becalmed near a strange bank of fog.
I tell you've got to believe me. You've got to believe me.
Don't get so excited, Jerry. We can hear you without your shouting like that.
Yes, take it easy, kid.
Oh, I'm sorry. But this is something to get excited about. You know that fog bank over there is not fog, don't you, Captain Bradford?
Well, it doesn't act like any fog I ever saw, Jerry, but what else could it be?
But, Mrs. Gregory, you still think it's fog, don't you?
What else can I think?
Well, you can think about the story that the old sailor told and the magic island. That fog, well, or whatever it is out there, is just where the old man said we'd find the island, isn't it?
Right to the inch, boy.
And this yacht was up against it, in it. But we didn't get wet or cold from it. Fog is wet, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, of course.
And Captain Bradford's fog machine has always made a hole through every other fog he tried it on, hasn't it, Tex?
I've never found another fog that machine wouldn't penetrate to a point of fair visibility.
Then that stuff over there is not fog. It isn't wet, and your machine didn't even start to go through it. It looks just like a wall made of gray stone or cement.
Tex, you're not really convinced about this, are you?
I've lived a long time without seeing anything that looked like magic, as Jerry likes to call it, but I've never seen anything like this.
Well, I don't know whether it's magic or not, but it's sure funny. And there's another mighty funny thing about this whole business.
What else?
This ocean is too smooth right around the edge of that fog. Look farther away on the sides and behind us. The water is rough enough, but here, right here near that fog bank, the water is as smooth as glass. The boat isn't even rolling.
I noticed that, Jerry, and I don't like it.
Then there is something mysterious about this place. And if the island... Oh, if the island could only be here, and my little Joan alive and well on it.
Well, I don't know about the island, but I do know we ought to find out more about that fog stuff. Why not try sailing around it? Maybe we can see something from the other side.
Well, we did. What's the use? You couldn't see anything?
Tex, you've seen something you're keeping from Jerry and me. You do know something about that fog bank.
Do you, Captain Bradford? Do you?
Well, I didn't want to tell you. It doesn't help matters a bit. There's no use of all of us worrying about the impossible. But I do know a little more about that fog bank than you two.
Don't treat me as if I were a child. What is it, Tex?
Oh, we're stuck so bad now that a little more won't scare me any worse. What did you find out, Captain?
Well, you and Mrs. Gregory remember that you spent a long time working over that chart while I was on deck?
Yes.
I mean, before I called you to come and look at the fog?
Why, we were talking about Joan and the magic island and all. I guess we did talk a long time.
What were you doing, Tex?
Well, I was on the bridge, and the skipper will tell you this is the truth.
Yes?
Go on. Go on.
Well, we have sailed around that fog bank.
We've sailed around it?
Gee, well, what was on the other side?
A fog bank.
Oh. Then it is just fog.
Wait, Mrs. Gregory. Go on, Captain. There's more, isn't there?
There's a whole lot more. From the circumference of the circle we described in rounding this thing, it must be about half a mile around it. Possibly a little more. And it's perfectly round.
That doesn't tell us much.
I want to hear it all, Tex.
No, I don't want to get you all worked up over it. May not mean a thing. But our instruments read exactly the same on all four sides of that fog.
What?
You mean they didn't change at all as you went around?
That's it. And from our solar readings and my radio beam check, that reading is correct. Correct to a fraction of a second, but...
But what?
Hurry. Hurry and tell us, or I'm going to pass out.
The readings we took all around this thing belong in the center of it. Everything reads to a perfect center when you're sailing around the edge of that fog.
Then a regular vessel, I mean one that just sailing through here on a regular run, would skirt around that fog without knowing they'd run off their course.
I guess they would. We found nothing to indicate our course had been changed. And if we weren't looking for trouble, we would have figured the same as any other navigator. that we were just passing a small fog bank and not being compelled to follow a distorted curve around it.
Then that means just one thing. There is something behind or in that fog. Something. And that something is...
I'll bet it's the Magic Island. Oh, golly whiskers. We're here. We found it. Gee, Mrs. Gregory. Now we'll get your little girl back.
Not so fast, son. Even if there is an island there, what can we do about it? The yacht won't go through the fog. We tried that.
Then let's figure why it won't go through it.
That's out of the question, isn't it?
Nothing is out of the question with Tex and I to figure things out.
Well, just leave me out of that, Jerry. You figure this yourself. I'm stuck.
Well, if we can't sail through it, there's something funny about it. And something funny about a fog means it's being done on purpose.
Jerry, you mean it isn't just a natural phenomenon? That the fog is man-made, controlled?
How about those instruments, Captain? And the fog holding the boat just like a magnet. That's it. Magnet. Oh, giggling goldfish. Why didn't I think of that before? That fog is magnetized.
That's my idea, boy, but I hated to make such a wild statement.
Well, that sounds possible. There are a great many magnetic deposits and formations in many parts of the world.
But don't you see, Mrs. Gregory? We don't mean a magnetic field that just happened there. That fog has been magnetized by somebody or something.
Do you think that's possible? You're not just excited and running away with yourself, Jerry.
Well, if he is, I'm running way ahead of him. Patricia, that fog bank is not ordinary fog. It's magnetized as surely as we're standing on this yacht looking at it. And there's probably an island hidden in it.
Well, but Tex...
And that's not guesswork. It's a scientific probability.
What else would have held our boat against that fog but a powerful magnetic force of some kind? And what else but a magnet? And a magnet with somebody running it would have turned the boat loose when it got ready.
Why, it's thrilling. But it's terrible, too. What can it mean?
It can mean we're up against the greatest piece of electrical or chemical wizardry this generation has seen. And we're going to see all of it.
Where do we start, Tex?
Start guessing, and as if you've done pretty well so far, Jerry. Suppose you take the first guess.
Well, isn't it better to do something you're sure of than it is to guess?
What can anyone be sure of in these weird circumstances?
Got something definite in mind, son?
Well, we can see what's inside that fog ring. If the little plane lashed to the deck, we'll fly over it.
Of course. Why didn't you think of that, Tex?
I did, but it'll take an hour to assemble the wing spread, lower it to the water, and get ready for a takeoff. By that time, it'll be pretty dark. I don't like to try getting the plane back on board at night, except in an emergency.
Golly whiskers. Here you've got a magnetized bank of artificial fog right under your nose, and a magic island, and a... Well, how much do you need to make it an emergency?
Well, I'm in a matter of life and death. That island, if it is inside the fog, has been there a lot of years, and it won't run away tonight.
Then we can't do anything until morning?
Oh, I guess not. Say, I've got it. I'll swim ashore. That's it.
You'll do everything else, boy.
You can't do that, Jerry.
I'll bet I can. And I bet I'll get through that fog, too. I won't wear anything that a magnet will hang on to.
And after you get through the fog, what then?
What do you mean? What then?
Mrs. Gregory and I are outside with the yacht. And if anything should happen to you, we couldn't get in there.
Why not try shooting through the fog?
No, you might hit... Of course, I mean, if this really is the island we're looking for, Joan might be hurt.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I guess we'll have to wait till morning.
I've got one small idea. Let's see. Skipper!
Aye.
Will you step up forward here, please?
Aye.
Now, Jerry, I want you to go into our cabin. Get that long black case, the one that looks like a violin case, out of the instrument locker. Bring it here and handle it as if it were eggs.
Right away, sir. I'll get it.
Sir?
Skipper, the swell is rolling heavier now. We can't use the motors to hold our position, as I need all the power in this cable here. Will you try for a good anchorage so I can cut all the juice away from the engine room?
Sounded.
Well,
3
fathoms?
Aye.
Can I help, Tex? I'm so nervous, but for once I seem to be helpless. I'm sorry I've always been able to think with you before, but no,
I understand, darling.
Tex,
I didn't say anything.
I know you didn't, but I'm glad you said it.
Oh, I suppose I shouldn't have.
You shouldn't, and I've been waiting years to hear it.
Patricia,
Here's the case, Captain Bratt. Oh, golly whiskers. I guess you forgot the case, didn't you? I'll go back and bring it in again if you want me to.
No, Jerry, you just rescued me in time.
You don't yell for help very loud, do you?
Now, Jerry, come on. Let's hook up the machine. Break that cable. Bring the shielded lead plug over here while I open the case.
Are we going to anchor here for the night? The skipper's paying out the stern chain.
Yes. Tex thinks we'd better not move till morning, and the skipper reports sounding's okay for a good anchorage.
Can I help with the machine?
Not yet, Jerry. I'm a little afraid to have anyone but myself handle it until it's set up.
It's sure a funny-looking thingamabob. What is it?
I never saw this before either, Tex. Is that what you've been working on so secretly in the laboratory?
I've done nothing else for over a year, and it's perfect.
What is it?
Well, I haven't named it officially yet, but I think I'll call it my straightoscope.
Straightoscope?
Well, what does that mean?
Well, it's a combination of strata and scope, as from stratosphere and periscope. In other words, it will do through the air and at tremendous altitudes and distances what the periscope will do within a very limited range.
I think it sounds lovely, Tex, but what will it do?
Left you behind that time, eh, Pat? How about you, son?
I think I know what you mean. You can look away up in the air, then away over someplace, then down again, like seeing over the horizon. Isn't that it?
That's it exactly, Jerry, and I know it works. I've tried it over a 300-foot building. When I was on the ground on one side, the objective was on the ground on the other side, and I saw it.
And now you're going to look over that fog and down onto the island.
Oh, can we? Really?
I'm getting excited now. You see, it's a case of plotting the trajectory of the wave curve I'm sending out. Figuring the density of the exact strata and the atmosphere I must refract the wave from to bring it down to Earth on the desired spot.
But how do you see anything with a wave?
These waves will return to me with almost as great an intensity as they leave the instrument with. Then I merely catch them in a tuned wave trap. And with a light valve and converter, I project the image on this little ground glass screen here and... Pat, Jerry, I've got it. I can see it.
Is it the island?
Is it, Tex? What do you see?